Hello, people. My name is Dan, and I'm the director of the New York NLP Institute. The subject of today's talk is NLP is not science. First of all, I want to make a distinction between natural language processing and neurolinguistic programming. So, in this talk, I'll be talking about neurolinguistic programming, which stands for NLP. So I often get a call from people and ask me, well, is NLP a science? And the first reaction, I tell them, no, NLP is not a science. And then they say, well, is it a pseudoscience? And I tell them, no, NLP is not a pseudoscience. So they ask me, well, what is NLP? Well, I usually ask them a question with a question, which is, well, have you ever thought of a time, or have you ever met someone that really impressed you significantly? Have you ever had a connection with someone that you really felt very special? Have you ever met someone that changed your life? Have you ever spoken to a friend or a spiritual leader or a priest or a rabbi that after a few words, they brought the very best out of you? So if your answer is yes, do you understand? None of this is science. If you believe only science can change your life, then you might as well forget about all those good recommendations you've been getting over the years, because they're not science. They're not based on science. However, they're based on something much more important to you, which is the person who gave you that recommendation knows something about you, specifically you, that enables them to bring out the very best in you, not someone else. So you well know that an advice to one person might be well received, but to someone else is not well received. And that's the difference that makes the difference, which is something we like to use in NLP. NLP is not a science because there are no rules or specifications that apply across all human systems. It's a series of techniques and processes for optimizing human performance. By human performance, I just don't mean making a lot of money or being this awesome businessman, but being a better friend, being more spiritually centered, being really in touch with your feelings, learning how to communicate with others. That's what I mean, optimization of human performance, bringing out the very best in you. And how was this done? Well, NLP came about from studying the top communicators in the world. By now, you know some of them, like Milton Erickson, Virginia Satir, Fritz Perls. These people were able to get through anyone, whether a business person or someone right off the street, and be able to communicate exactly what they needed. So a series of patterns emerged by studying these people that were discovered by Richard Bandler and John Grinder. And these patterns constitute the foundation stone of NLP. So if you're looking to find someone that will change your life, find someone that will impact you in a radically different way, then seek out an NLP practitioner. Now, not all NLP practitioners are well trained. However, the ones who come from the Society of NLP, endorsed by Richard Bandler, the co-developer, and John Lavelle, are on top tier. You can count on those for really making a profound change. If you don't want to go to an NLP practitioner, just find someone who knows you inside out, who can really give you the kind of advice you need to transform your life. Now, there's times people who just don't buy that. They say, well, NLP just doesn't work. It just doesn't, it's no good. It's pseudoscience. And I tell them, well, have you thought of a technique called EMDR? So what is EMDR? Well, EMDR is right now the gold standard for therapeutic interventions dealing in the treatment of PTSD. And it stands for Eye Movement Reprocessing Protocol and Reprocessing. Now, EMDR is used by many, many people in the treatment of EMDR. is an evidence-based protocol. And so they'll ask me, well, so what? Well, did you know that Francine Shapiro, the one who quote unquote developed EMDR, was an executive, according to John Grinder, was an executive secretary to him? And she, according to John Grinder, he passed some information to her that eventually led her to develop EMDR. So I kind of chuckle when people tell me, well, NLP doesn't work. When I just point to EMDR. There's something else called rewind therapy. Now, rewind therapy is actually a repackaging of the VK dissociation process, which also was developed by Richard Bandler and John Grinder. So what's happening in NLP these days is that there's been a wholesale looting of NLP. And a lot of people grab what they want and then they rename it without giving credit to where it's due. You, like me, know that that's not a good idea. You got to give credit where it's due. And lastly, I have people who say, listen, prove it to me. NLP doesn't work. And okay. I, in fact, kind of remind me a long time ago, a fellow who was absolutely obnoxious. No matter what I told him and what counter examples I gave him, he insisted on interrupting the class and then saying NLP is pseudoscience. And I told him, come to the front. And at that point, I said, are you sure you want to learn the hard way about how effective NLP is? And I said, I don't care. Tell me. Do it. I said, okay, great. This is what I'm going to do. So I proceeded to install him a phobia glass of water, no problem. And so a few hours later, he tells me, Dan, listen, he pulls me to the side. I'm kind of thirsty. He says, well, there's the water fountain over there. Well, every time I go to the water fountain, I feel I can't drink it. He says, but what's wrong? It's not something I did I? Well, maybe. And I told him, listen, is this proof or not? Or do you want something even more extreme? And he quickly changed his mind. He says, you know what? NLP does work. This is just like I can take away a phobia, I can install a phobia. It's that easy. Now, I'm not going to give you the secrets because that's something that I really am a person who feels you need to use NLP in an ethical way. But there's certain times a stick is better than a carrot for certain people. So I hope to have conveyed and transmitted to you how NLP is effective. A, I've given you a breakdown that NLP is not a science. B, I've actually explained to you that NLP is about optimization of human performance. And C, I'll give you a very concrete example how NLP works in a kind of an adverse way. Now, for those of you who still don't want to believe that NLP works, I can just give me a ring and leave a message on my machine, and I'll be able to more than happy to install a phobia of drinking water. And we can talk about it afterwards. So I hope this has been a very instructive meeting and call. And if you really are interested in learning about NLP, the ethical way that will really transform your life, that will shift you to a new level, reach out to me at the New York NLP Institute or anyone in the Society of NLP. Okay? So look, you have a good day and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.